And this week on Finally Seen, we have Jessica Hatch-Farrokzha, and with a BS in kinesiology from Sam Houston State, where she was an athlete in volleyball and softball, she has built a multifaceted career in healthcare and advocacy. After traveling the U.S. recruiting physicians and helping hospitals restructure radiology departments, she founded Infinity Diagnostics in 2012 and growing it into a multi-state medical management organization supporting hospitals, surgery centers, and imaging facilities. Now expanded into Infinity Centers United, she maintains a sharp focus on streamlining care, delivering and supporting patients and providers alike. And in parallel, she created Hatching for Health, a foundation and storytelling platform both to amplify voices for children and families navigating rare diseases and complex conditions. Through Hatching for Health, the show, she raises awareness, connects families to care, and provides hope through narrative-based advocacy. Jessica, welcome. I'm so happy to have you here today and can't wait for you to share your story.
Yeah, Chrissy, thank you so much. I think this is a beautiful thing you're doing and, just kind of helping those that are doing all the things, but get that additional, spotlight and opportunity to be on your podcast and to kind of do the storytelling through you instead of me.
Well, thank you. Yeah. I called this Finally Seen because as women, we are seen, a lot of times for what we do or as a mom, or, we're sometimes pigeonholed into one thing and we're actually so many things.
Yeah.
I mean, you just in the bio that I just read the intro for you, it's like you've got all these things you are. And so I want us to be seen for all the things that we are. And, you started out in medical management, but it seems like as you've grown your career, it's really more of a calling to you. Where did that all start and how did that come about?
Yeah, you're right. It has kind of, formed into this consistently something in the medical space for so long. You think I went to school to be a doctor or like a nurse or something, spending so much time in this space, helping people, not physically with my hands-on, but having all the right resources for people to get that hands-on treatment. But essentially I grew up like an athlete and that was kind of like my world. It was playing sports, performing in front of whether a stadium or a field. In college, when college came around, I was fortunate enough to have scholarships to kind of continue playing. And the focus became kinesiology. That's kind of like a jock, choice. And I was like, okay, I'm going to do this because this is what a lot of the other athletes are doing. So I wasn't too sure. I mean, I ultimately wanted to go to the Olympics and play softball or volleyball. And so I just kind of was, a little bit short-sighted of what the future held. So kinesiology stuck for me, which, I mean, I guess that's kind of why everything unfolded the way it did. But I had a minor in health and kind of right out the gates. I started, basically getting into health-related careers.
And how did you end up on the business side of things rather than, like you mentioned, being a nurse or something like that? What drew you to the business side?
Yeah, I know. I want to say the competitiveness that it's there. Yeah, because how sports are, right? You're constantly being coached to get better and better. And it's all about competing to win. And so I think obviously nurses and doctors, they already won by becoming a nurse or doctor. But I wanted just kind of that constant, I craved,
the growth,
meaning gaining it, the business development side, being able to constantly, essentially you're growing yourself in a business, but learning new things that were not just specifically, for this type of patient, but rather all the things really. I mean, my relationships extend from podiatrists to neurosurgeons to cardiologists. And so been able to have a little, piece of everything throughout my career, whether it's helping build their practice or, gaining knowledge from them to build my own.
I'm glad you said building your own because I remember hearing you talk about, when you got started and going out and getting this funding and as a female trying to get funding. And what was that like for you when you were getting, because, funding can be a scary thing.
It's still, and then as you continue to grow, I didn't, come from a family with money. So that's a lot of times, people that are successful, don't have to come from that. But I'm saying a lot of times, that's a good thing for people to fall back on if they've, made it on their own. But then it's okay, I've crossed this threshold. I can't continue to grow without this, kind of additional investment. sometimes they have that family to like lean back on, but I've never had that. And so it's always been like, if I don't have it like in my current wheelhouse, then I've got to go seek it. But early on, yeah, I mean, it was the facility I'm sitting in today, which is a beautiful facility, like in the River Oaks area. It's like 6,200 square feet. We've been in for 8 years, but getting this, took me probably a good 9 months of meeting with various like banking institutions, private money. And it was just like, I didn't have a history of having an actual brick and mortar. I had all this, brokering business that I had done for other people's facilities and brick and mortars. But it was like, you want this to create that, but you've actually never done that before. And I'm like, well, how do you ever do that? And that's where a lot of times I think your family like just helps make it happen for you the first round. And then you've got banks there to support you thereafter, but didn't have it. And I just remember like, one of the, technically like competitors of mine was like, this is a CPA. It's a female. She does all my taxes. Like I think she might be the one to like help you. So I like went to her and laid out my story, and she's like, as long as like I can be, your do your taxes, then I will, essentially I'll give you this first loan
Wow.
for your MRI machine. Yeah, and so that essentially gave me now the opportunity to find other investors and say, look, I'm coming to the table with my 150,000. I want you now to invest on what I, predict to be $1 million business for, basically 10,000 a share. And so it was better than me having like nothing and being like, come on, because they're always like, what skin do you have in the game? And like, obviously it's gonna be my sweat equity, but then it's like it's still like too new because it's like hasn't been built yet. So I went around and found quite a few investors, to get involved. So like I ended up getting to a point where I was like 40% owner. And then over the years I bought everybody out and paid that lady off. And she's been there for like, additional loans when I'm like, hey, we're going to do this. I need this quick. And then, so it's been a blessing and thankful that she took a chance on me, because I like came through,
Well, I love that you believed in yourself back then and you were willing to risk on yourself. And, you had seen that you'd already done it for other people. And, it seems like you kind of got to a point, well, why not me do it for myself? And so I love that.
Yeah. Like the men around me, it was all men, having these locations and thriving at it. I don't know what it was that was like, I'm going to just do that too. Like, I don't know where that came from. Like, cause again, like aside from playing sports and all that, like I knew I was aggressive, but, it was like something I, was like, okay, I guess I'm doing this, and then,
I love that you didn't have a chance to second guess yourself. You just did it.
I was like, that's the thing, like the whole like saying like put the cart before the horse, like story of my life, like everything I do, like, I know that success comes with planning, but I'm not like a big planner and I tend to, just kind of jump out there because then it's like, why not? Like, what do you have to lose? Especially if it's something that you've not accomplished or done before. You can always backtrack and like, but if you don't actually start,
then you don't know.
Yeah.
You've always never accomplished it if you don't even go for it. I love that. And what you're talking about with kind of putting the cart before the horse, I'm very much like that as well. On a lot, I am a planner, but not in the traditional sense. I guess I'm more of I like things very organized. But
yeah, I feel like it is because like from all the experiences I actually love your organization.
Oh, really? Well, I'm organized. Yeah, I'm very organized. But like with this podcast, for example, I had nothing was fully planned out, but I knew the intention that I wanted behind it and I knew the impact I wanted to make. And I figured we'll figure out all the other pieces in the middle.
Yeah.
And, we have our basic framework, obviously, because we manage other people's podcasts. So we knew we had our own, flow going. But did the launch go perfect? No, it's okay.
Yeah,
it's okay. Again, I had the intention. I have the impact that I want to make, and that's my focus. And I know that as long as I am keeping that in my forefront, that everything will work out as it's supposed to. The messages will reach the people they're supposed to reach. The sponsors or that are supposed to come will come. And again, I'm not saying I don't try to accomplish things. I absolutely do.
Yeah.
But it's a nice balance between masculine and feminine of the masculine aggressive, like, got to get it. and anyone always will say about me that I am tenacious and I end up getting what I want. But it's also a balance of feminine, knowing that like, okay, if this doesn't work out, it's okay. It's working out the way it's supposed to. Kind of like what you mentioned, like you can always backtrack and go back and, try
Yeah.
again. So I love that you said that. And I think maybe that's one reason why we get along is because we're both
Yeah.
kind of living in the organized chaos.
Yeah, exactly. Like,
And we first met through your show, Hatching for Health, because of Sienna. You had Sienna
yeah.
on, and that, you were such a good host and so kind. And yet she's still, I don't know how many years has that been? Like what, 4 or 5 years since she was
Yeah, it's
first
been
on the
like 4
show?
or 5 years.
She
'Cause
still
yeah.
sleeps with the bear that you gave her.
Oh my gosh,
Still
that's
drinks from the cup
adorable.
that you gave her.
I love
And
that.
even when she goes to stay with her Aunt Relisa, she takes the bear with her.
Oh my gosh, that's so cute. I love those little bears. We ran out of them too. They were like a little hot commodity. And then now I'm like, I don't have any now. I want
They're
one.
so cute because they're perfect, and I can throw it in the wash if needed. And
Yeah.
so, yeah, she still sleeps with
Little,
it.
little like hatching
Uh,
from a shirt. Yeah.
yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's how we met on Hatching for Health. So tell the audience a little bit about what that mission is behind Hatching for Health.
Yeah, of course. And it was such an honor having you guys on. I actually think we did 2 episodes with y'all over
Yeah,
the years, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah. And y'all were a hit. So it was like, oh, you're coming back. And your daughter, like, she's so like has your spirit, right? Like, I mean, she has her own little business and then she goes to all
yeah,
I see her like going to all these events and like, like she's probably like signing autographs by now because she's like, she's always all over. So good for her. But yeah, so Hatching for Health, essentially was created to be, like a storytelling platform for families. Our tagline is pretty much been like creating awareness for children with rare conditions with hopes of finding cures. That expand upon that rare because we got a lot of like more common things like autism coming through, and like conditions that were super not rare. And I was like, okay, I would essentially start just saying like, health conditions that were children related. And so we were able to tell many stories for these families. And my hopes are that the right person tuning in is gaining, information for their own child or someone they know to share with them like those resources to, then lean towards that either, cure or like a better, way of living. We always had like an expert come on at the second half of the episode to give their opinion. Typically it would be a doctor. If it was something neurological, then it would be like a neurosurgeon. If it was, um, something where they were needing to do physical therapy throughout their care, like sometimes we had physical therapists on. So a variety of experts like would join us to kind of give their 2 cents and, again, just help give advice. And, I think it was really special, just some of the opportunities that kind of came my way through the show. Cause my ultimate goal, like when people are like, okay, well, you're raising money, like what is it for? I mean, obviously like, filming has its own costs associated, but I pretty much have been paying for the cost of the show, like 99% for all these years. Now we're trying to get some proper sponsors to help with that. But with that said, when we had an opportunity to raise money, it was usually because, okay, I had this child or this family or this organization on the show, and there's a very clear need here. And I want to financially like help them. And so one scenario was like we raised money to provide a life-saving heart surgery for a child, which was through Heart Gift. And that was extremely substantial. And I think that's, to date, probably the most significant thing that I've been able to do to give back.
I love that
Um,
particular story. I remember you telling me about it,
wow.
and I was just like, oh my gosh, yes, that story is like the epitome of what you're trying to do right there.
Right. And we had a whole like gala around it. And basically, specifically it was like, Hatching for Health presents this event to raise money for Heart Gift. And so sometimes that happens like an organization comes on that's an additional nonprofit doing their own, fundraising to help children. And then it just, sparks something in me. And I'm like, okay, let's make our next event about them. I was telling my new guest coordinator that I was like, that's sometimes like how this happens. Like, cause she's like, we should do some fundraising events. And I was like, well, we have to have like a purpose of like who it's going to be for. Cause I'm not just going to raise money for Hatching for Health without like a specific need.
Yeah.
And one thing I'm just like kind of rambling, but one thing we did recently do, we were donated actually by a company called Van Sharks, a sprinter van.
Yeah.
And so when we actually get monetary funds currently, we're actually able to use them to provide transportation in a beautiful Mercedes sprinter van to and from their medical appointments, and it has a wheelchair lift, so it's accessible for handicap. And so that right now is like a very clear circumstance. But of course, if I have a surgery or something that comes up, like that's going to become a priority at that time.
I love that. I was hoping you were going to bring up the vans because that's such a cool
Yeah.
thing. And just as seeing the people on the side, like I know Nala is on the side of the van, and
Right. Yeah. We partnered with Dream Rides. So, across the van, it's got Hatching for Health and Dream Rides. And, basically in partnership, we were the ones like funding all of the transportation. And the van again was donated to us. So that was like a unique expense we didn't have to occur aside from the wrap of it.
that's amazing.
Yeah.
And I know the person who donated the Van Sharks, it's a female owned company, or
Yeah.
the van. And I just love that you also surround yourself with so many other female entrepreneurs. And where I guess do you find these other female entrepreneurs? Because I know it's kind of hard, especially once you get to a certain level.
Yeah, so Brooklyn's an interesting situation. She was like my right hand when she was like 19 years old. So I don't want to say she was my assistant, but I basically taught her everything that I knew during that time. And where I was working for another company, and they literally like they paid me very well. And I was like, I'm gonna actually use what they pay me to hire a second person because
Amazing.
it was like, you know, beneficial for what she could accomplish alongside me. So she worked with me for quite a while, and we remained friends. And then she always had like an entrepreneur bug. And so I just knew it was a matter of when, so I think she had it in her. Maybe I sparked it, but
Nice.
she probably like was always going to do her own thing at some point. Um, yeah, but other friends of mine, it like I do think there's, in some ways I think I, inspire some of them, whether like I said, they had it in them and they're just the right person to kind of be in their life. But at the same time, it's like, they backwardsly, that's not even a word, but they inspire me too. You know what I mean? Cause it's like, I see their challenges and stuff. And then it's like things that they get through. And then you learn from them and you're like, oh, wow, I might be on this level, but like what just happened and occurred and how she like dealt with that. Like now I feel like more empowered to like basically not do the same thing or like go through that. Cause I just learned, through and I try and share the challenges myself with them. Because there is a lot that comes at you, when you continue to grow and get at a certain level, it's like hard to always be
Exactly. I
comfortable.
think, I think it's super important for women, especially those of us who are entrepreneurs to share those, here's my challenge. And, we see the highlight reels on Instagram and, everything is super perfect. And, oh, this person reached 7 figures so fast, so easy. And not at all the reality.
I know.
And so I love when, we can be real with one another and say, like, no, this month sucked and here's why I think it sucked or whatever, or have you ever experienced this? And thankfully I
Yeah.
have a good group of PR peers where we meet once a month, and we've met for about 5 years now. And
Oh,
we're always
that's
very
great.
honest, like, here's what I'm charging, here's my new package, or here's the angle I'm working on. What do you think about this? And we're always
Yeah,
very honest with each other, or like, I need this contact. Do you have somebody at this outlet? And it's
that's
just been
great.
so empowering to be around these women who like, no, you get $1 million business, you get $1 million business, you get $1 million business,
Yeah.
not an only me thing. And it's very refreshing. And I know that I just seen the women that you hang around with, and that one you took us to one luncheon. It was oh my gosh, can't remember the
Oh,
organization.
was it Nilo, like with the Methodist Hospital?
It was the president of the Rockets. She spoke at that one.
Yeah, yeah. That was like it was my friend Nilo, she's like in the HR department at Methodist Hospital.
Okay.
And she had kind of given me that platform because they pick like one nonprofit a year to have at that luncheon. And then I was able to bring guests for the table too. Yeah.
It was amazing. And
Yeah.
just seeing the president of the Rockets being a woman, and that was just so awesome. And I know it was awesome for Sienna to see, and she's a young entrepreneur as well. And she's learning,
Yeah.
like, she takes the photos for her website and names all the products. And, she
Yeah.
does everything except for the taxes and, put stuff up on the website, the technical stuff.
Right.
I handle that for her. But, yeah, so I just love that you've found a good community and that you're always looking to build each other up, or build other people up as
Yeah.
well. You've always been really good at that. Um, and what kind of guests can we expect to see for this upcoming season?
Yeah. So I'm glad you asked because we are finally about to get the back on set with the whole new season. Our goal is to have that first episode air like September 6th, which
Okay.
is Saturday morning. So it's Saturday morning at 9:30 on CW39. And we'll also post, if someone misses it, they can go to the YouTube channel and catch that episode. So it'll be there like by the end of that weekend. But we have changed a little bit in regards to, all of the different individuals we'll have on the show. Um, we want to obviously continue to focus on children and, helping them, discover like whatever type of research is out there for different health conditions. But we also are also going to tap into like the IVF world and like fertility and issues with that, just because I've kind of been on my own journey. And so I thought, why not? Like I've literally come across a ton of experts and things that are helping me along the way. Once I'm, officially pregnant, I'll be able to truly be like, okay, check. This was a part of it. You were a part of it. But I've even just learned stuff like not to do and through so many different people. So I really want to have several episodes on that. And then we also are kind of even diving into just the overall health and wellness aspect. So we're going to have like some doctors that are, from like small type clinics, but that have, delve into like from, all of this shots they're doing for weight loss, like the Ozempic and NAD and things like that. So we want it to be a little bit more well-rounded, like in just the healthcare community overall.
Love
So
that.
there'll be lots. We have some plastic surgeons lined up that are local to Houston,
Nice.
some IVF doctors. And, I will be bringing on the family that the little boy had the heart surgery that we helped. And kind of because I wasn't filming when that story took place. So I didn't get to have like a formal episode with them. And he's now like, I think he just had his like second birthday. I want to
Amazing.
say, yeah. And he's just adorable. So I want to, bring them on and like just talk to them about where they're at in life and everything. And
Well, I'm glad that you're doing that and kind of branching out as well, because I know, so I don't know if you probably don't remember, but in that last episode that we did with you, I just remember feeling so fat and bloated. And then I came to your office. I don't think it was, I think it was like right around my birthday, and I was covered in hives, and I was having some sort of, you remember that?
Yeah.
And I had so much inflammation. Like I came from, personal training and being a physique competitor. So when it comes to working out and nutrition, I
Yeah.
know the right things. So I could tell that something was off on my body, but I couldn't figure out what. And then I got on the drops for allergy drops. And it was
Okay.
about a month and a half after that that I broke out in hives everywhere. And then I started having anaphylactic reactions, a variety of them. And so
Wow.
it would be like maybe my throat would start to close, but not enough to where I couldn't breathe, but just kind of like, something's funky going on.
Wow.
And
What?
then I would have like random vomiting, or just get like rapid heart rate, like really, really like crazy heart rate. Then one of the doctors was like, I think you should go get checked for mast cell activation syndrome. And I had actually heard of it because my sister-in-law has it. It was considered rare, but now that I'm diving into it, I'm seeing it's not,
Not.
it's just being misdiagnosed a lot, or we're being
Okay.
told it's in our
Well, that's a
heads.
lot of symptoms to like,
It
kind
is.
of.
And so mast cell is essentially just the mast cells in your body just attack your various organs. So like you could have an anaphylactic reaction in your bladder or in, the various
Oh, in many
organs. So it's
places.
not
Well,
that
yours was like
easy
the
to
throat.
pinpoint. Yeah. And so for me, I went to an allergist, and turns out I had 5 brand new food allergies, actual like IgE mediated food allergies. And so I had been eating spinach every day, thinking that was healthy. Spinach is high in histamine. I have a histamine intolerance. So I was poisoning myself every
Oh
day,
my gosh. It
not
never.
realizing that. And so, like, now I can't have gluten, dairy, oat, peanuts, or sesame. Those are my 5, like, actual, I have to carry an EpiPen for them food allergies. And I
And
went to
this is
anaphylactic
never
shock,
before. This
never
is like
before.
now.
And not long after we
Isn't
met,
that wild? You
I
develop
know.
allergies like
I
later in life.
think it was maybe COVID and then starting those allergy drops, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
And then stress is a really big factor in it too. But it wasn't, but maybe a couple months after you and I met in your office that I went into anaphylactic shock from sesame while on a Zoom call. It was so mortifying. The people I was on the call with had to call Joey. I had to give them his phone number so that they could call him and be like, yo, your wife's
Oh
going
my,
down. We're on Zoom with her right now. So I love that you're diving into some of these things that nobody's really talking
right.
about. And, since I stopped eating all the things that I was allergic to, I eat a low histamine, mostly carnivore diet. I dropped 20 pounds without anything else.
Yeah,
And
I can't see all of you, but like your face is like thinner. I mean, you weren't like heavy set, but it's like when we lose,
it
that
was
much
inflammation.
amazing because
It,
it's like we're now like back in like competing shape.
well, it's like I have abs again without even going to the gym. It's just because I had so much inflammation. And, I think that I know with your IVF journey, you're like trying all these different things. And it's like sometimes nobody knows the right answer until you just stumble upon what's happening with your particular body, even though you're following best practices on all the things. And
Wow.
so, I mean, I know for me, nervous system is a huge deal. So I have to regulate my nervous system. And
Mhm.
if I start to feel my nervous system getting off kilter, I'll have to go do grounding or some meditation or something. Do you have anything like that you like to do to kind of ground yourself?
So, like as of recently, I just picked back up acupuncture, but um, the more like something that I've actually enjoyed, not that acupuncture, I pretty much fall asleep. It's like they put all the needles in you and then you're out. So it just creates this like relaxation. But there's something else that I came across. It's called Mercy A therapy.
I haven't heard of that.
It's usually done by chiropractors, like they'll do additional training. And so I found one in Katy, and it's essentially like for someone either like whether they're trying to get pregnant naturally or through IVF, but it's like a deep tissue massage on like the uterus. And so
Oh,
literally for a whole hour, they're massaging like, everywhere that you have everywhere to like increase the blood flow. So like it's, really deep like into the stomach. And she does these like basically deep pressures where she'll like push all the way in where you're like, oh my gosh. And then you're supposed to like breathe in and out as she comes up. And it's like interesting because she does 15 of them throughout the hour. And like by the 15th one, it's like sinking in so easily. And so she's like, she'll tell you like things feel good in there and things like, oh, I need to do a lot more work today. But then it like you roll to the sides and they a lot of work into the like basically because I guess like obviously like our blood vessels are just like all around that like connect into the uterus. We even turn over and she like massages the caucus area.
mhm.
Feels so good. All those do. The front one's a little intense, but it's like I feel like it's just like when I've done IVF and had like an egg retrieval, I have like zero pain. A lot of
Oh,
people have like
wow.
extreme pain. Like before I did it, I was like vomit. Like I had so many things like reactions to it. And so I know that it's done something, definitely I've been doing it for like a few months now. And I like highly recommend it to like anybody. So I want to have her on the show to talk about the
Yeah.
depth of that and like the science behind it. Cause it's,
I'm
it's definitely
interested. Yeah.
very unique. I had never heard of it. And it's like, it's not cheap either. It's like you pay 3,000 for 6 sessions. So they're 500 a pop. And then you have like, you can go in for maintenance. So for like 100 at any time. But it's like that initial 6 sessions is what like kind of gets basically like you're good to go. Like if it was any issues with you were trying to get pregnant, there was a blockage with anything like that's basically cleared out. And then the others like, it's almost just like maintenance because you enjoy it. But she's like, you don't have to come, you can wait like a year and you're good, you
That
know?
makes a lot of sense because there's, we store a lot of our emotions in the abdominal area. And so that would totally make sense that she's able to kind of physically move some of the energy out that gets
Right.
blocked there. And that goes back to quantum science.
Right, like what you were telling me
I mean,
earlier.
once you understand to the like molecular level how our bodies work with the ground and everything, it's just like all these things make complete sense. Like when you were telling
Yeah,
me what she was doing, I'm like, oh yeah, she's just clearing out the energy and like loosening it. I'm like, okay, I totally get what she's doing.
yeah,
I see 100% why it would work. And that's another reason why massage feels so good, is because it's, getting this, removing the toxins, getting that energy out of that space, because
yeah,
our bodies, physical bodies, manifest what is going on in our emotions, and those
mhm,
emotions have to come out somewhere. And so it could be a
yeah,
headache, could be a kink in your neck, and it could be a
yeah,
variety of things. And a lot of it, I think, comes from, recently I didn't even realize I had an energy block that was preventing me from receiving some things. Especially as women, I think we have a hard time receiving sometimes, like somebody
mhm,
says, oh, you're so pretty. No, stop. It's like,
yeah,
we can't just go, thank you.
yeah,
But it was like I had to find a way to clear the energy. And it was in my lower back. And it's like once it released, I physically felt it like go away. And
wow,
it's really hard to or to explain until you've actually experienced it.
uh-huh.
But I can imagine how awesome those sessions were. But I could see how it would probably been like really uncomfortable and weird, but good.
Yeah, exactly. Like at
And your
first,
lymphatic system's
I
right
like was
there as
so
well. And
deep into like, in there, and I'm like, and she, she's like, okay, yeah, that feels good there. And I'm just like, oh, in the beginning it was so tight. Like, cause like massage therapists aren't going to
yeah,
do
they
that
didn't do
kind of
that.
work. Well, they're not even trained on it. It's like, it's quite an extensive course that they have to go to, which is why they charge what they charge.
Yeah.
Right. Cause not anybody can just like dig into your, the woman's uterine cavity and be like, this is what you need. Just listen to me. But the energy clearing, I do have like a call with somebody coming up that, like next week, my cousin, she's real spiritual and into things like that. And she has me, I'll have to send you who it is, because I've never done it, but it's related to like, all the energy and things like that. So I'm like, whatever, whatever
It's
it takes.
it sounds woo, and it sounds like wizardry or something, but it's really not. It's just God designed us with so many tools. And it's like it's like I try and look at it this way: if I have 100 children, there's no way I can give all 100 children everything I need, so I'm going to make sure they're equipped to handle themselves. And
Yeah.
so I feel like that's kind of what, God's given us a lot of tools to kind of help ourselves.
Yeah,
And then, of
exactly.
course, he's always here to help us out as well. But he still
Hmm.
says, you still got to do some stuff on your own. Come on.
I know. Right. And it's like, I feel like, wait, like the whole thing on like in God's time, like, that's really difficult for me, because I'm always like, especially with the fertility stuff, like I'm like, everything that I've ever wanted, like I go after and I like figure out a way to get it. And it's like, this is like, doesn't matter what I do. If it's like not, if he's not ready for me to bring a child into this world, then like, he's like not letting it happen. So it's like, it's kind of trying to understand why. And like, you're constantly like, thinking about your space and your surroundings and like your relationship, and there are things that like my husband and I think have recently like worked on that, probably could have been blocking us before, and now I'm like, okay, that makes sense. We're in a way better like, husband wife space, which means we're going to be way better
Right.
parents,
Yeah.
and so, to where an extent where I'm like, yeah, we weren't ready, like when I think like 9 months ago or whatever that timeline was, and we just went through a big move, and now we're like settled into our new home. So you're like, okay, like maybe now God's like, okay, you guys are not, there's not like some stress that is gonna like affect the pregnancy. But it's like just, remembering to like trust God as difficult as it is.
Yeah. I mean, I can tell you 100% myself that, 6 months ago in my business, I was really frustrated with some things. And it was me trying too hard to force things rather than to kind of get to that surrender side of
Hmm.
things, and where I'm doing my part, But now I also have to trust that God's going to allow it all to unfold for my betterment and for the better of
Yeah.
everyone involved. And it's not easy. I mean, it's sometimes a minute by minute like reminder.
Yeah.
But it was once I kind of made that decision that I was going to stop leaning so hard into my masculine and really embrace more of the feminine and receiving, because
Mhm.
the feminine energy is the receiving energy. And if you look at all the female things out there, that makes complete sense.
Mhm.
But it was once I just kind of surrendered that I avoided bad clients or potentially bad clients, or like I can remember one particular one I was really excited about. And then at the very last minute, it fell through. And then as I look back at it, I'm like, oh my gosh, that was totally saving me from a giant headache. And,
Yeah.
it's just so we have to release the time expectation, and I get it. It's so hard, especially when you want
Yes.
something so bad. So
Right.
yeah, I get it. What do you do to try and remind yourself every day?
Um, well, I mean, like, what do you mean exactly? Like, what do I do? I mean,
'Cause, I
obviously,
mean,
like,
obviously there are days and we just want to cry in the corner because
yeah, yeah,
it
yeah, no, for sure.
Tired of overpriced energy drinks full of junk? Same. That's why I use Babello, a self-carbonating hydration packet that gives you clean energy, electrolytes, and vitamins without the crash. Just add water, shake, and sip. It's way more affordable than typical energy drinks and way better for you. Use code ChrissyBernal15 at checkout to get 15% off at drinkbabello.com. Hydration just got an upgrade.
It's like, okay, what am I, what have I additionally added on that I want to do to like try and improve this? Because even like say God is in control, like, does it really matter if I go do Mercier treatment or acupuncture, or like, but it's like we have that free will and like God gives us the tools to do things. So it's like, you have to assume that like, okay, he's guiding me to do this because like, I have too much stress and it needs to be released, or, but sometimes it can be a little bit overkill and you're like, am I spending my wills and money like where I don't need to be? And that, like, my husband tries to keep me in check with that. He's like I found this lady, she has a podcast and I think she like is amazing. Like her name is Tasha Blasi. And she's not a doctor, but she has a podcast about IVF. She's been through 10 rounds of IVF and has 2 children to 2 IVF babies. So I feel like she's got the right experience, and like, and so she's like, basically her whole tagline is like, I wish I knew now, what I didn't know when I went through 10 rounds of IVF. So let me help you like get the right protocols in place so that, it doesn't take this long. And so I was like, I want to sign up with her program and all this stuff. And then he's like, we're just now switched to our IVF doctor. Like, like, come on. And it's like, cause like her thing is like, she gives you questions to like be more authoritative in your IVF treatment, to where it's like,
Mm.
because Tasha apparently like kind of knows all the things. Like once she knows your, hormone, blood work, and all this stuff, then she's like, okay, ask this, this, and this. And so she wants you to go to the doctor and be like this, and this, and then come back to her. And then, okay, well, why won't she do this? And it's like she, for example, my new IVF doctor was like, I want you on birth control and then I'll have you come off it, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, I don't like taking birth controls. Like, but I started taking it. And then when I met Tasha, I stopped taking it. And then the doctor was like, why'd you stop taking it? I was like, because I talked to this lady. And I'm like, my husband's like, what are you doing? Like, this is not okay. Like, and so I literally, here's the thing. So the new IVF doctor, apparently she's so busy and she owns her own lab, but that lab is at the mercy of like her patient load. So she controls your period with birth control pills so that she can time you to where she has the right time to
Oh,
retrieve your eggs for the lab and all this stuff. So when she kind of told me that, I was like, I was like, would you still recommend birth control if like you didn't have that like time restraint, And she's like, I'd still recommend it. And I'm like, would you really? Because
interesting.
Tasha was like, no. She's like, don't do it. It's a suppressant. It's suppressing your eggs. And then they're going to give you more medications to bring them, make them grow. And I'm like, you know what I mean?
It is very hard. It's
And it's
medical for
like,
women in general is very hard because
yeah.
our bodies are so different, and what necessarily works for one person isn't going to work for others.
And
And
that's what kind of like, I feel like bothers me a little bit. Like the IVF clinics they are so like, I guess treat us like, I mean, there are different protocols, but like there's very much a cookie cutter, like system in place there. And so someone like Tasha, who actually, she's gone through it, but she's also now like, she goes all over the world and meets with IVF doctors to like learn like what they're doing different, like what works, what doesn't. And like none of the doctors I go to have had time to do that. Like they're focused on their patients one after another. And so I think like she actually probably knows more than so many doctors that don't have that ability to do as much research. And
Well, and
with
many doctors don't. They haven't studied nutrition. I guarantee you, they haven't studied quantum science.
yeah,
But
no,
I've had a doctor on my podcast who she has studied quantum science. Actually, she just became a new client as well. So I'm excited to
well,
hear her
awesome.
book's coming out soon. But yeah, doctors they don't. There's so much to learn. It's hard to. You almost need a team of like this
Yeah.
person knows this person knows this, and yeah,
Mhm.
it's hard to know all the things. So I get it. And I know that you're being thrown so many decisions you have to try and make, and they all feel monumental. And
Yeah.
it's like, I don't think you're going to make the wrong decision though. It's
Mhm.
going to end up how it's supposed to
Yeah.
end up in the time that it's supposed
Yeah.
to. And so you give yourself some grace because don't put so much
Yeah.
pressure on yourself to make the right decision.
Right.
So
Right. And I think when the question you asked, which kind of led me down that rabbit hole, but when you say like, what do I do day to day? I mean, obviously aside from just like praying like God in your time, let this happen, which I'm always like, let it be this month, let it be this year. But like, I think with everything I have going on, like I stay so busy. So like my mind is like all everywhere. And then it's whenever I'm like, okay, it's time for me to start my period, or then I start just like, heavily focusing on it. But like, it's like the in between time. If I don't pay attention to it, like, well, it's almost like I'm so distracted with so much going on that I don't, until you're like, come across a friend, they're like, so how's it going? And then you're like, okay, let me tell you where we're at, but like, I don't go around like, thinking about it as much as you would think, because I'm so deep in it, just because of the businesses and the staff and all the things going on. And, um, that you get distracted.
and I see for you, this is what I see. You can tell me if I'm wrong, but I see that you like giving back to others and serving others as a way of kind of just distracting yourself. And
Yeah,
and like
yeah,
that's a great way to distract yourself.
yeah, it's very true. And that's, like, I don't want to cry, but that's kind of why like I paused searching for help, because I felt like I need to focus on myself.
Yeah.
And my husband was also just like, I didn't mean for this to be an emotional thing.
No, you're fine.
But like he was just like, all you're doing is like trying to like help so many different people and all this stuff. And he's like, and so I actually stopped filming. It'll be 2 years off. But because we're about to start back up, it won't end up being a full 2 years. But that was kind of like what happened. And I was like, what do I do? Even like why I'm off my personal social media right now too. I was like, I told myself like, Hatching for Health is live in all my business pages, and I have a social media account manager. And so I don't have the app on my phone, none of them. And if there's something I want posted, I'm like, do this, do that. He'll send me a screenshot. I'm like, perfect. So, but I just was like, took that, like my personal social media kind of out of my life too. Cause I was like, this is just another like very, like it pulls a lot of our energy and a lot of distraction. And it's like, if something I really need to hear, I'm going to see it on the news, if it's that important, you know what I mean? And so I just like, I haven't been on social media personally for over 3 months, which is, I don't know anybody that was as active as I was that has like not been on there.
I know, because I literally saw one of your posts and then went back to it. I was like, wait, it's gone. And I texted you. I was like, wait, where did you go?
Yeah. And so like now I'm like, okay, I'm going to go back to filming, but I'm going to like stay off of it. Like, just, things that you try and do to just be in more control over your, like your own energy and like what is like pulling from it. And so I think now at this point, like I have a really strong guest coordinator. And so, cause I didn't even have that. I was like coordinating, like with you guys, and I had a producer, but, he was like limited on like the interaction with guests and stuff. And so now I feel like I have someone so I can, show up and we can have a great, successful show. And CW took over, like they have to film the show now. So it's not my production crew. They've created a lot of restrictions. There's like no pictures there unless they take the picture. You can't have the CW sign. So there's like all these things, but But at the same time, they're going to support the show a lot more. Like it's going to be a part of, they're going to post it on their stuff. They're going to have
Oh,
me on
nice.
their H-Town Live with Maggie, like
Yeah.
once a month to promote an episode. I'm giving them a commitment with like a lot of restrictions, but they're also like, I guess, kind of joining, kind of coming more to the middle with me and making it,
More
I think more
collaborative.
success, like helping, like their viewership become my viewers and,
Nice.
what I gain goes to them. And so I think it's going to be a much better marriage this go around. Yeah.
Good. I'm glad you brought that up about, pausing, and because sometimes that's necessary. We have to pause, even if it's something we love doing.
Mhm.
And I'm glad that your husband told you it's, maybe you need to take care of yourself, because as women, I know we're particularly bad about that. And, that's one reason why I've continually said I'm thankful for the autoimmune issue I have now and my food allergies, because it forced me to pay attention to myself. And so if my nervous system is starting to kick up, okay, what's doing that? Is it in my environment? Is it a decision I'm trying to make? Is it a person I'm around? Is it, what is
Mhm.
it? Is it something I ate? So it really
Yeah.
forces me to take care of myself. It's like literally life or death. I don't have a choice.
Yeah.
So I love that you're taking that time to take care of yourself. And, a lot of women are told it's selfish to take care of themselves. And, I can
Mhm.
tell you, just the energy that we put out is what we get back in. But when we don't have any energy and we're depleted,
Mhm.
we can't put anything out.
Right. Yeah. Yeah,
So
exactly.
I'm glad you took the time and the little break. And I'm sure you'll come back
Yeah.
now with a renewed vigor, and the team will be
Yeah.
invigorated. And yeah, I'm excited to see the conversations you're going to have, because you've got a lot of topics you can cover.
Right. I know. Exactly.
You're going to
I
be
know.
like, okay, we've got enough guests booked out for a year. No more booking.
Yeah. I know. I think that we're gonna do like a few where we actually do almost like, too many episodes like in one, so instead of doing like the same
Person.
people
Yeah.
on for that 12 minutes and 12 minutes with commercials in between, like actually have like one story here and then one story here, or one, organization conversation here. Cause I think it'll probably just engage the audience too, to like want to know more about it over here too, and kind of have them come at you for like more information about that organization or that family. Cause, I think sometimes like not with everybody, with you guys, we could have like had like an hour. There's so much to talk about, it's like exciting, but sometimes I feel like you're just kind of like, okay, like we've actually gone over everything, like I'm like digging, so it'll always be the opposite. Always be like, I want more, with you, or, so.
Well, and that makes perfect sense too. I mean, if you think about, most TV segments are, kind of on the shorter side. So I think that'll take a lot of pressure off of you as well, to try and fill up that
Yeah.
whole time, because it can be challenging. I know that in the past, before I had this podcast, about 10 years ago, I had another podcast, but it was live.
Oh,
And
okay.
that was nerve wracking. And, it's like sometimes you would feel like, oh gosh, is there dead air? Oh gosh, what do we do? What do we do? And so it is nerve wracking. And so
Yeah.
I get that. Well, where can people catch up with you? And so I guess, where can they check out your clinics and whatnot?
Yeah, no, for sure. So, like just since we're on the Hatching for Health, so hatchingforhealth.org is the website. Hatching for Health is also the same, Instagram and Facebook, username. So that can be everywhere the same. And then we have Infinity Centers United. It's kind of like the umbrella company, but basically, which you can go there to find all of our locations. But we're like in Houston, Beaumont, Pasadena, Willowbrook, and we offer like all medical services. So from like an MD consult, like a medical consultation, to imaging, like MRIs. We do chiropractic services. We do pain management, like mostly interventional pain management. And then we even have a spine surgeon and orthopedic surgeon that does
Okay.
extremity, that will come in and do consults to provide surgery at a nearby hospital that we contract with. So it's all the things. But yeah, you can go to Infinity Centers United to kind of connect there. And I am on the other end of the Hatching for Health Instagram with any, questions or comments. Like you can reach out to us there, and love to connect in any way.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Jessica, for joining the show and sharing so openly your story, because I know that, sometimes women are scared to share their stories. But then when they do, they realize there was another woman out there who was feeling so alone.
Yeah.
And then they hear your story and they feel, oh my gosh, it's not just me. And so
It's so true.
I
Yeah.
applaud you for doing that. I know it's vulnerable. I mean, even my own story, there are still aspects of it that I haven't fully shared yet. And
Right.
I know that it's a season to start sharing some of those. And
Mhm.
so I'm just feeling that God's calling me to share some of those. And
Right.
so
I
I'm like, all
agree.
right, I don't want to, but I'm going to be obedient.
Yeah, exactly. Are you really pushing me to do that? I don't want to. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
So I'm like, I guess I have to walk the walk.
Yeah.
But thank you so much for having me. And I look forward to a successful season for you coming up,
Thank
and
you.
both in Hatching for Health and hatching your own baby.
I know, right? Yeah. The How I Hatched My Baby book coming soon.
I love it. I love it.
So
Well, I
thank
definitely know
you.
somebody who can help you with the book side of things.
I know, right? Is her name Chrissy?
All right. So
Yeah,
but thank you so much
I
for joining
know.
me. I
Thank you.
appreciate it.
It was my pleasure. I loved it. So I'll talk to you very soon.
Thanks.